installment in the Spider-Man Marvel Cinematic Universe iteration of the character. It's also the fourth time that Tom Holland has portrayed the character too. First installment since No Way Home back in 2021, which we did cover on the show. I went back and looked. Joe and I covered Homecoming on the show back in 2017 during the summer on WONC. Far From Home we missed because it was 2019, and we covered No Way Home on Sleepless, and now we're back talking about Brand New Day. What's funny about this, and nobody remembers this except for me, I swear to God, I thought this movie was a prank because if you remember, Marvel announced Spider-Man Brand New Day on April 1st of 2025. And I thought it was a fucking prank. I really did. And I don't know why. It's just, to quote Scary Movie 3, great trilogies come in threes. And I didn't think after No Way Home, it's part of my disassociation with Marvel and just part of my lack of interest and also my satisfaction with No Way Home. I didn't think about this series continuing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the cash cow's got to get milked. I understand that. So when it was first announced on April 1st, 2025, I remember being like, oh, this has got to be bullshit, man. It's April 1st. Chief Keef's got a song called April Fools. It's made me aware ever since, But this is also the first Tom Holland movie in the MCU that's not directed by John Watts. John Watts, director of Cop Car and Clown, directed Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. Destin Daniel Cretton, which I think, the more I say it aloud, is a great name. Destin Daniel Cretton directed this one. He is the director of Short Term 12, famous for being Brie Larson's cinematic debut. He directed The Glass Castle with Woody Harrelson, which is an underrated movie I really enjoyed. And he also directed another movie we reviewed on this show with Michael B. Jordan, Just Mercy. And not his first Marvel foray. He directed Shang-Chi. He directed that one, which I didn't see. I know Joe did. But yeah, not his first Marvel foray, not his first foray into the superhero genre. I said it before in the intro. This is when a Spider Boy becomes a Spider Man. And let's just say the title Brand New Day kind of usually signifies maybe something brighter, more optimistic. This is a glum movie in the way that it's shot. When you go back and think about Homecoming, which I love, it's a great, probably my third favorite Spider Man movie after Raimi's second movie and No Way Home. When you go back and look at Homecoming, had this real John Hughes, Saved by the Bell energy, very colorful, very vibrant Spider-Man. Peter Parker's in high school. This movie from the jump takes on a radically different tone that it mostly manages to sustain for 2.5 hours. This is Peter Parker, I joked in my review, kind of in a post-pandemic world. Very isolated. MJ and Ned, played by Zendaya and Jacob Batalon, aren't his friends anymore. Don't really remember him. Don't remember Spider-Man's true identity. Shout out to Doctor Strange. They don't remember his identity. And he's kind of going through the motions of being a crime fighter. His closest friend is a police detective. And yeah,
That's all he's got going for him, man.
the Punisher is his best friend, played by John Bernthal. And when the Punisher's your best friend, you're going to go to some dark headspaces. That's kind of my long windup over here. Where do you want to take this discussion of Brand New Day, my friend?
Yeah, I just tackling this like emotional low point for the character is interesting because, like you, Steve, I had thought, No Way Home. This is the finale for the Tom Holland Spider-Man because the Spider-Men have always had their threes except Andrew Garfield, who I guess he got short-sighted on a third movie, but that's okay. I don't think we needed a third of that kind of the Amazing Spider-Man. But for this character, this iteration of the character, I was kind of impressed with how this iteration has has managed to really dig deeper into the character in a context of a wider Marvel context that seems more and more artificial and disconnected. Now, I'll be frank, I haven't watched a lot of too many Marvel movies outside of, I think, Spider-Man. What else have I watched? I don't even know the movies anymore. I went with like a group of 4 people, and we were all like, "Yeah, have you been watching?" No, not really. They really do come out for Spider-Man, as evidenced by the box office, right?
Yes.
But here we get something a little more Spartan, not just with Spider-Man, who's basically a loner. It's honestly shocking he doesn't become an incel during this movie, and then yeah, it's like, oh, and then there's there's the Punisher, as you mentioned, where it's like, yeah, this is who could possibly have it worse than Spider-Man? Oh yeah, Frank Castle, who lives in like an abandoned dock, eating beans all day. Like, Jesus Christ.
Very Tyler Durden Fight Club energy.
Honestly, that's actually a really good way to put it. Yeah. And we got Spider Cop here working with 12 to get some stuff done, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll when the revolution. I'm still in my I love boosters phase where it's like, yeah, when the revolution happens, we'll give Spidey a pass. No, I'm kidding. But in terms of,
We better.
I was wondering, like, oh, is this going to be like Tobey Maguire's Raimi Spider-Man 3, where it's like, oh, we're going to get into some symbiote stuff. But I'm actually glad that they didn't. They didn't go into the symbiote direction and into the like, oh, alien, thing, organism, and he like, you have to like get a backstory on the alien, whatever. Is it like, oh, is it like the Tom Hardy symbiote thing? No. Live and online, it's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. We come to you right meow in living color, live on this Wednesday evening reviewing Broken Lizard Super Troopers 3. We reviewed Super Troopers 2 on the original show, did we
We
not?
did.
On
Yeah.
the radio show, yep. So this is the second Broken Lizard movie. They've only done one in between. They did Quasi a couple of years ago, which was their Hunchback of Notre Dame parody. And this one, though, is obviously the third installment in Super Troopers. I have a lot of love for Broken Lizard, so I'm really excited to talk about this, at least in some capacity. Joe Viso, gruesome twosome tonight, wearing what I typically wear. I've got a random Sacramento Kings shirt on today.
I was
It's
gonna ask
amazing.
you. I'm like, you're wearing purple. Is this a sports team?
Yeah, I got a Sacramento Kings jersey. The good thing about De'Aaron Fox sucking in the finals for the Spurs was this was $3. So, and I'm like, I don't have a Kings jersey. Somebody's got to. They got like 8 fans. They've been through a lot. But anyway, anyway, Joe Visa tonight. No Dom Guanzon. Unfortunately, Super Troopers 3 is too sophisticated for Dominic. So we are tackling it. Nah, he's off tonight. But we're going to dive into this one, though. I guess first off, I'm just going to start. We'll jump right into it. I don't think this is going to take as long as a typical review.
I was gonna say this
Like,
might be a short show.
this might be like an after like post intermission. We'll be close to being done. There's not a
Yeah.
lot to say about this thing. I guess quickly I'll just say though I've loved Broken Lizard since I was a kid, but Super Troopers was not the first movie of theirs I ever watched. It was Club Dread. And I love Club Dread. I still think that movie is hilarious, and I still think that movie's their best. It was kind of ballsy looking back on it because that was their follow-up to Super Troopers
Yeah.
in '04. It was kind of ballsy of them to make a movie, a follow-up, like a horror comedy slasher, a very bloody slasher, what they
Yeah.
did. And I didn't realize this. I was reading something on the AV Club this week. That movie came out the same day as Passion of the Christ.
Are you serious?
Yes, and it got trampled in Jay Chandrasekhar's words. It got trampled at the box office. And then from there they went on, they did Beer Fest a couple years later.
That's the first movie I saw from them.
Okay. They were always going to do Pot Fest, but it never ended up
never
happening. And after Beer Fest, they wound up going like direct to video. They made the Slammin' Salmon, which was decent, has some moments in it. They did the Baby Makers, which was awful, with Olivia Munn, I think. That
Oh
was
my God,
horrible.
that was them.
That was them. They wrote
I mean,
it.
thank you for Olivia Munn, like on screen at times, but like that movie sucks.
That was a terrible fucking movie. And they did one other one. I wanted to say they did Super Troopers 2, finally, one of the biggest crowdfunding successes, which I'd be honest with you, and I don't want to make this sound like I don't like the original Super Troopers because I do.
Freeloaders, by the way. Freeloaders was the other movie.
Freeloaders was the other one. Okay, I couldn't think of it. Super Troopers 2, though, I like more than the first.
Same.
And I didn't realize until this sequel came out, I was going through Letterboxd, just Super Troopers 2. A lot of people didn't like it. And I thought it was a really good, and I know this is weird to say, but like, I love the plot. I love the plot from the jump. I was like,
Yeah.
this is something original, like, and different. I know it's just Canucks versus Americans humor, but it was very inspired. And you could tell that after like 17 years, they were itching to get back in those characters because no studio could give them funding.
Yeah.
So I really like Super Troopers 2. Quasi, I didn't care for. I don't like a lot of like these. I know this isn't the right term. I don't like a lot of Stone Age comedies. I wasn't a Flintstones kid, really. I don't like Your Highness, the Danny McBride movie. I just don't.
I
Year
cannot
One-
stand. Yeah, I can't stand Year One. I think Year One's like one of the worst comedies out there.
Like, I don't like those movies like that are set like in the year one and they're making fun of how like primitive everything is. I find that lazy. So I wasn't inspired by that one from the jump. Tacoma
Yeah.
FD, from what I've seen, is pretty funny. That's Heffernan and Lemmy that do that show. But here's Super Troopers 3, a movie that I'm kind of surprised we got so quickly. And top of it from Searchlight, from an actual like reputable studio. This movie, I did not know the plot going into this thing. This movie essentially revolves around Farva, played by Kevin Heffernan, marrying Thorny, Chandrasekhar's sister. And the sister's played by Hannah Simone. And Thorny doesn't want Farva to be part of the family, so he winds up getting the best man role to sabotage the wedding. And so then so that's basically what it is. There's also a half-ass plot involving like a new Canadian drug involving corn syrup.
That's right, yeah.
There's this really half-assed plot that involves these two morons and everything like that. The way they converge at the end is kind of nice how they tie them together. But mainly, it's a bunch of jokes. That's what Super Troopers is. The comedy
Yeah.
troupe Broken Lizard, Chandrasekhar Heffernan, Steve Lemmy, Paul Soder, Eric Stolhansky. They've been working as a collective since the late 80s when they were all students at Colgate. And then before I throw it off to you and talk about your relationship to Broken Lizard, I always have to bring this up. Do not forget Hinsdale native Chandrasekhar, too. Hinsdale native, our boy.
Yeah, for me, Broken Lizard, the first film I saw from them, like I said, was Beer Fest. I saw it back, I went to theaters with my dad when it came out because he loves Super Troopers. So when he saw that those guys are going to be in a new movie, he was like, I have to take you to go see this. And I ended up liking it. I thought it was a fun movie and everything. Oh, excuse me. I rewatched it recently and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, it wasn't as good as I remember as a kid, like, but then again, I was a kid and everything, but I still got some solid laughs out of it. One of my favorite bits in Beer Fest, though, is the actor that plays Farva, Steve Lemmy. I'm not saying, like, Kevin Heffernan. When his character, spoiler alert, when his character dies in the movie, and they're like, "Oh no, who's gonna replace him?" And then literally Kevin Heffernan walks in with a cowboy hat. He's like, "I'm his twin brother." I'm gonna replace that. That always gets a good laugh out of me. It's so stupid, but they play it so serious. And I think that's the beauty of what comes with Broken Lizard is that they'll just take ideas like Super Troopers and Super Troopers 2, Beer Fest, Slam and Salmon, whatever, and like it'll be such like raunchy goofball comedy, but there's just like moments where like they play it so straight, like no, this is like for real happening right now, like and everything, and they do such a great job with it. So like Steve said, when we reviewed Super Troopers 2 back in 2018, one of the Movie Pass movies actually that we got to like really take advantage of, it was awesome because it was like, I remember the first one, I do enjoy it. But B, like Steve, I was, I guess now, one of the few people who think, not only do I think it's a good movie, but I think it's better than the original. I think it just improves on everything, too. It was nice to see, too, that, like, a crowdfunded movie like this one, like, it seemed like Broken Lizard really did care to, like, actually give something back to the fans who helped basically make the movie happen. And like, there's just moments in the movie that always stick on my mind. I love the opening of the movie where they're a rock band now on a tour bus and everything. That part's hilarious. I love when they're at the joint assembly meeting, like in the city council, basically with Canada and the United States, and Farver gets on the mic and he just starts talking smack. I love when they impersonate the Canadian cops and they do the typical, because it's not, at least like, because this is my issue with a lot of comedies, is that they usually will repeat a lot of the same jokes, and Super Troopers 2 finds like a way to repeat the joke of like, all right, let's pull people over and use like a pun or something, but they do with like Canadian ways and everything. And it's just a lot more funnier and clever and everything. But with Super Troopers 3, I'm not gonna lie, I don't mean to start off on a negative, but I was kind of a little disappointed with the movie. I do feel like for some reason something about it felt too sitcom-y to me. Some of that's like some of the comedy and some of the ways it was shot reminded me so much of the Baby Makers. Because like I was just sitting there, I'm like, these jokes are just not hitting for me. Every once in a while you'll get something that's like, that's Broken Lizard. I totally see that. Like for instance, Farva has like a bachelor party, and how that crescendos at the end is typical Broken Lizard. But the ramp up to it, I thought, I'm like, oh, like the pieces are there. I just feel like they're not taking like full advantage of it like they did with Super Troopers 2. Like somebody's on mushrooms and I'm like, oh, let's see where this goes. It really didn't go anywhere. Oh, somebody did this at the party. It's like, okay, that really didn't go anywhere either. Every once in a while there's something funny. Like Farva's allergic to shellfish, so for some reason he decides to order a plate of lobster and tell all of his groomsmen, or his best friends I should say, they have to inject him with penicillin before he dies, but he's trying to finish the lobster. It made no sense, but it was just like, it's just the typical chaos you expect from Broken Lizard. So like throughout the whole movie, I was just sitting there, I'm like, there are just times like I am getting a good hefty laugh, but there's a lot of lows where I'm not laughing, not even chuckling. I'm just kind of going with the motions of the movie, just kind of waiting like, all right, can we get like everybody back on screen together? Because I feel like whenever people are separated in this movie, that's kind of when it was at the lows for me. When they're trying to do, especially that whole Canadian drug plot line, like Uh, every time that was brought up, and how they like basically throw in like 3 other subplots, one involving jumping over a lake, one involving a love interest, and then one involving the 2 brothers. Unfortunately, I don't know the actors' names. But it was like within this one thing, there was like 3 other subplots going, and I was like, I could care less. Oh, the rookie as well. Like, I mean, I was like, nothing there is working for me too. I do love when Brian Cox shows up. He's supposed to be retired, and he's just finding ways to stay in the facility and just being an asshole still to his staff. I do love that running bit and everything. But we can keep going back and forth about like some of our favorite moments, the history of Broken Lizard and everything. Because like Steve said, I don't have really too much to say about the movie. I do think it is funny. I think it's just probably the weakest of the Super Trooper movies, but nothing that I wouldn't say like, don't go check this out or anything. Like, I think this is a great movie. Like, if you could go see it for like a matinee price, do it. But like for me, it's like this is like a streaming movie, dad streaming movie for sure.
There's a couple new faces in here. Nat Faxon plays Markowski, who takes over as the police captain from Cox.
Yeah.
Andrew Dismukes, who was on SNL, he plays the new rookie Coy. What's funny about Dismukes, he fits in really well, and what I think, you know what I think the secret sauce is? He was probably a kid watching Super Troopers on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And so he knows it. So he fits really well into the dynamic of this movie, pretty seamlessly. Because I mean, this really is a legacy. We'll call it what it is. Like you don't get us like kind of these seamless inclusions. My MVP of the movie, though, co-MVPs, are Iqbal Theba and Sakina Joffrey as Thorny's parents. I thought they were fucking great.
Every time they're on screen, I was like, I can't wait to hear what they're going to say next.
They are dynamic as hell. And I think, I wasn't too familiar with them. Sakina Joffrey was in House of Cards, and Iqbal Theba was in Glee.
Yeah.
2 things I didn't watch. But they are funny. Iqbal Theba is hilarious in this thing.
I know you're saying like he was in Glee, but this man has made cameos throughout so many sitcoms that like when he popped up, I was like, get the fuck out of here. They got him too. Anytime it sucks to say like this is such a stereotype, but if you need an Indian father, 99% of the time it's gonna be him. But he plays it so fucking good.
And he's game. Like he knows. They both know, him and Sakina Joffrey like know the tone that they're going for.
Exactly.
And Theba's like physical in this, a little bit of physical comedy on his part too, which is really impressive. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the dinner that Farva has with the parents.
Oh, I love that scene. Yeah.
When he gets some Gandhi on VHS. Can't wait for the sequel.
Gandhi too.
And then Chandrasekhar, sequel, he's fucking dead. and then you didn't hear Gandhi 2, Electric Vindaloo.
That's what he said. I was like, I know it's not Electric Boogaloo, but what was it? Electric Vindaloo?
Yeah, they're great. I love them in this thing.
That's the thing. I thought the main plot A, if you want to call it, I thought that was fine. I love watching the dynamic between Farva and Thorny play out the entire time. Like having them like, you know, Thorny's trying to like basically screw over like Farva in his wedding so he doesn't marry his sister and everything. But like all the side characters and all the stuff they get involved with that plot, I found to be the best parts of the movie. It's everything else. I'm just kind of like, this just isn't working for me. Like they bring in a smart car, and I'm like, all right, what bits are you gonna do with this? They don't really do anything with it. They kind of try to do something towards the end of the movie where like it basically becomes like Kit from Knight Rider, and I was like, this is coming in a little bit too late now. I feel like we could have played around with him more. But yeah, everything involving the parents, Farva and Thorny, I had a ball with throughout this whole movie. I just couldn't wait to like that. And thank God at least like the climax is revolving around that, because it at least kept me interested to see how things play out. And it gave me some good big laughs too, involving involving the parents again, where she basically tells the dad like, oh well, you know, it's time for me to get like, you know, what's fair is fair to me now. I have to get this, like what's agreed upon based on like earlier events of the movie and everything. I don't want to reveal the joke, but it is very fucking funny.
The other scene I loved was the body cam footage from Farva. The other bit I love towards the end. I without giving it any context, I just love it. I got a wet dog, got a Dr. Pepper, so it's spicy.
Like it was so obvious. Like what the reveal is. I was like, I know it's this, but it's still so funny to see play out because Farver's quotes are just so funny.
Yeah, if you hadn't been driving so slow, come on, you know you're terrible drivers. You all know.
You all know, everybody, right?
Heffernan can sell the shit out of that. Like, you know, he's very like his character is obviously like a one note joke, like a vulgar
But
Chris Farley, but he's so good.
he is.
Like,
It's so like there are times with these comedies, like I think of Anchorman and Anchorman 2. Brick, I would compare as like the character that's kind of like Farva, where like, you know, it's like very much just the wild card of like the dynamic in the comedy group. But you look at Anchorman 2 and Brick's just there just to say random things because they think that just would be funny and whatnot. And so many times, so many of these comedy sequels fall into that trope where like, all right, well, everybody fell in love with this character. As much as I love the Guardians films, Drax is guilty of this too in the Guardians films, especially Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where it's like, he kind of is like, you know, a little bit of an idiot where it's like, you know, oh, like, you know, it went right over his head. Nothing goes to my head. Like, if my reflexes are too quick, I'll try to catch it. Like, he says that in the first one, but it's like they increase the stupidity again with each sequel. And it's like you have to find this right balance with like a comedy like sequel where it's like he's not becoming stupider, you're just thinking of more clever ways that works around what you established in the first film. Fargo in all three of these films, I'm like, that's the same character, and that they find funny ways to still keep him as that same character, just finding new things for him to play off of.
and you make such a great point there because this is that's a common pratfall that comedy sequels fall into.
Yeah.
Is that when a character becomes beloved or a character becomes iconic, well, now it's not like you're just writing a funny character anymore. You have the pressure for writers then to like redo everything that character was loved for, and then up the ante winds up making the character annoying. Alan in The Hangover in the sequel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's I was like,
Hangover.
what? I'm like, there's another comedy trilogy out there that never occurs to me. I always forget about 3.
Oh yeah, everybody does too. There's a like The Hangover became so in record time because it was like the first. I feel like The Hangover, super bad too, but like The Hangover was. I remember The Hangover came out right when everybody was starting to get on Facebook.
Yeah,
and that intensified it.
It
like
did.
and that's why in like record time Alan and Zach Galifianakis became like icons. The same thing can be said too about like Happy Gilmore too, you know, in some sense.
Oh,
like, they just double and triple down on the character and they make him insufferable.
Soon to
And
be
maybe-
Grown Ups 3.
maybe you know what, because like this is the funny thing. Like we had a conversation with a new friend of ours at the theater after seeing Super Troopers 3 the other day. We had a conversation with him and we were talking about it and stuff. And he was like, man, I made a joke. I said that movie went platinum on Comedy Central, the first one. and he was like, yeah, he's like, if you remember, he's like, it did not do that well in the theaters. And I'm like, it did make money, but it was a very low key hit. It wasn't until like, and this so rarely happens now because of streaming. There's just so much, and we all have different services. But like, it did really well on VHS, and it did really well in rental stores, and that's how most people saw it. It wasn't in theaters, and maybe it's because there's not like Super Troopers lunchboxes and Farva talking dolls and shit. Like,
It doesn't feel like it's overplayed to you.
Broken Lizard has always been pretty niche.
Yeah.
Like, they really have. And I feel kind of bad for them in a way because I love Club Dread. And I think most of their fans and people who have seen it really do like that movie. I think it's probably my favorite Bill
We
Paxton
should do a
movie.
retro review of that movie because I've been looking for an excuse to finally sit down and watch it. If we're ever
I
having
would
a
love
lull,
to hear your thoughts.
I would love to actually talk about that movie because that's the only Broken Lizard movie I still have not seen.
If you're a horror fan too, like Catherine hadn't seen it. I showed it to her a long time ago. She loved it. If you're a horror fan, it's not a shock because you know how like a lot of comic actors and directors can do horror really well.
Yeah.
But what they do well in that movie is they manage to give you what you want out of a slasher movie. The kills are creative and bloody. It's a very bloody movie, but it's a very funny movie. It retains the level of like lighthearted satirical humor in it. And its greatest attribute is something with every rewatch, I've probably seen it 6 or 7 times. With every rewatch, I appreciate it more because they constantly throw you red herrings on who the killer is.
Oh, really? All right.
The buddy we were talking to at the theater the other day, he's like, I need to go back and watch that because I don't remember who the killer was. And I said, they feed you there's at least every scene is designed in some ways to make you think it's this person or this
Huh.
person. They, it, it's like they spin you around. If you look up the poster of the movie or the DVD cover, it gives you a red herring right there on the fucking cover of who you
Yeah.
think the killer is. It's the equivalent, I think I said in my review, of like blindfolding you and spinning you around. And it's so creative that by the end you really don't know
Yeah.
who the hell the killer is. It's such a funny movie, and Bill Paxton did all the music too. It's
And
great.
like you're definitely right about the going back to what you were saying initially about this whole thing. The VHS thing definitely played into it because I remember I rented the shit out of Super Troopers 1 at Blockbuster because it's just like they were just scenes I love. I love the burger scene. As a kid, I would quote that like
Mhm.
constantly with my dad. So it's like anytime we were like Blockbuster was doing like, oh, rent two, like, you know, get another free or whatever, like, you know, or Hollywood Video or wherever we were going to rent a movie. Anytime, if we couldn't find anything with the free, we would just be like, oh, fuck, let's just get Super Troopers or get a comedy that we like quoting and just like rewatch a few bits. Because, you know, we didn't, that stuff wasn't really on YouTube just yet. And if it was like in the shittiest quality ever. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, it was like, that's what we did with the VHS and DVD player and everything and yada, yada, yada. But like, you know, and Matt Damon has also brought this up in interviews. That's what you could always rely on when you made a comedy. If you didn't do if you didn't do well in the theaters, it
Yes.
was if somebody brought that over to a house party from Blockbuster or somebody owned it, you can gain a new audience. It became a cult hit after. Dogma is an example of that, where it's like didn't do well in theaters, became a hit when it got to Comedy Central, when it got to this. But like nowadays,
Tremors.
yeah,
Tremors is another
Tremors
one.
is another one, yeah. Nowadays, though, this is the biggest concern I have. Only a few movies have ever done this, but that's like because like they're part of a big IP. Like Into the Spider-Verse did not do good at the box office. When it went to streaming, though, absolutely killed it. Then the sequel came out in theaters, and it's like noted as like box office history of like the biggest increase from one sequel to the next. But that's an established IP. That's Spider-Man. Like, you know, people will probably be interested in
Yes.
that when they saw that and everything. So anyways, going back to what I was saying, this does make me worried about Super Troopers 3 though, because at least Super Troopers 2, it came out during, you know, the year like towards like before COVID, where it's like the box office was doing well, and we also did like a whole thing. If we go back to old Sleepless on the radio, we did a whole thing about how Movie Pass was making people go to the theater and how much of like that was actually paying for tickets for people, and then all these other subscriptions. A-List was starting around at that time too, and it was like Super Troopers 2 did pretty good at the box office. It didn't necessarily make the profit, like the whole thing about double and a half, but it made back its budget and then some, just not enough to be considered a profit. So it's like, it's probably like the best they've done. And then when it came to video and everything, they probably didn't make up for it. With Super Troopers 3, it makes me worried because it's like they spent a lot on the movie. Not like a lot, like, you know, but pretty big for a Broken Lizard production. And it only made 4 million in its opening weekend, and they want to try to make Super Troopers 4, and it's like, shit, even though I'm not crazy about this movie, I do want Super Troopers 4 because they do tease it at the end of the movie, and I like the idea of the premise already, especially because it's bringing back another character that I was enjoying in this third film, and it seems like they're going to be the antagonist in the movie, and I think that'll be a great dynamic.
And I feel bad in a way for Broken Lizard. I tried, I don't know if I finished this thought earlier, but I feel bad for him in a way too, because it's like they really tried something different with Club Dread. And
Yeah,
and I think coming out the Weekend of Passion of the Christ doomed it, but like, you know, I feel like that they have other ideas that they want to do, but everybody just wants to see them play cops, like, and that's
yeah.
what everybody knows them for. And I feel bad about that because I'm
That
like, they're really funny dudes. Like, even if not everything, like Beer Fest and Slam and Salmon are a tier below
yeah.
Super Troopers 2 and Club Dread for me, but they're still these guys. The thing that behooves these guys is something that keeps this intact to Super Troopers 3, even in its weak moments for me, is the fact that like these guys went to college together. You can tell the natural authentic chemistry that they have. They've come out and said, because it's a question they get often, are your movies improvised? And Chandra Sekhar and Heffernan have come out and say, no, we script a lot of. He's like, we
Yeah.
might throw in a line, but he said we're very scripted when we're doing that, and you would not believe, you don't believe it because their chemistry is so natural. These guys are in their 50s now and known each other since they were in their 20s.
It's
Like,
honestly my favorite part about them, and that they've been honest about that, where it's like, no, like we know, like whenever you see like a comedy like group like this do a movie, you're thinking like, okay, they're gonna improvise. I mean, even when it's like Even when it's an iconic comedy duo, John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, they improvise a lot of lines on set. The Rock and Kevin Hart improvise a lot of lines on set and everything. But like Broken Lizard is one of the ones that actually is like, no, we scripted out. We'll improvise a line or two, but like you could tell, like they actually really do think these out because they just, I feel like they know how to play off each other even in writing. Like it's just like, especially with the first two movies, like you feel like how one thing leads into the next. And even with here, even though I wasn't crazy about the other things, the fact that it actually all does culminate at the end is like, no, they obviously scripted this out because everything did tie up at the end at the very least.
The authenticity of these guys is always something that even like their worst movies, like I didn't like Quasi, their very first movie's bad. Puddle Cruiser, nobody talks about it. The only reason
I never finished it.
Puddle Cruiser got a release, I think, when Club Dread went to theaters. I want to say, like I think I remember one of them saying that like if Super Troopers didn't become what it did, there was no way we were going to get Puddle Cruiser ever on DVD. But like even their worst movies though is behooved by the clear and evident cast chemistry of everything too. And you see it here. Their comedy too, and it really shows here, involving like corn syrup and the mushrooms too. Their comedy, what I like about them, just as somebody who's got like a mileage for like absurdism and surrealism, they flirt with it, and they go like there's the corn syrup bit in this movie involving Steve Lemmy is fucking one of the wackier things they've ever done. But it doesn't wreck the momentum, really. It doesn't really. It's like everybody's game and doesn't like question it. And I think that's kind of what works about it.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't imagine this thing had a significant budget, so they really had to probably stretch in order to make it happen, like scenes like that. But
what was it? Hold on, I have it right here. I was looking at it because I was curious. I'm like, what is it? It only had a $15 million budget, but it has to make like 35 to 40 to, break even and whatnot. And it's like,
more than I thought.
I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you guys are at 4 million right now. Like, like that's going to be tough.
Well, and part of the reason Super Troopers 2 succeeded too, I mean, don't underestimate the crowdfunding element. People throw money to something, they want to see it pay dividends.
Yeah.
Like they want to see that. Even like a lot of people, I think if you donated $10, you got your name in the credits. The credits are absurdly fucking long for that movie because of that, and that was the other thing, was that don't underestimate the fact that crowdfunding played a role. I always said, going back to movies that probably would have done, and maybe it did, but movies that just categorically bombed in theaters, another Kevin Smith movie that would have done well in video in a different era is his movie Tusk. Because where he got it wrong with Tusk was that was an idea that him and Mosier worked on a podcast. Yeah. And then he said, tweet #walrus yes if you want this to be a movie. Tweet #walrus no if you don't. Well, everybody fucking tweeted walrus, #walrus yes, and nobody showed up to the movie. I would have said, fuck that, man. Yeah. This is a weird concept. Let's see if we can raise $1 million.
Yeah.
Like put money up then. Yeah. Even if it's $5.
That's the thing, because like, if you put money down on a movie, you're gonna be like, well, I want to know what the hell like my $10 like went towards. It
was one of the coolest things. And if I was like even modestly wealthy, I remember this. One of the coolest perks, it wasn't even the most expensive perk. I think if you donated like 20 grand, you got the car, you got the cruiser.
Get the hell out.
No, that's not even the best thing, even though that would be cool to own. Man, I remember we were in college, and I'm like, holy shit, man. I'm like, I'm way too responsible, but I could take some of the money my mother put away for me for college and do this. I think it was 70. It wasn't a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things. $7,500. There was only one of these. You got to go to a fucking Cub game with all 5 of them.
Fuck. That would have been awesome.
That would have been great. And tickets would have been included and everything. They would have bought, they said like food and drink. You get like 2 beers or something.
Yeah,
and
I imagine it would honestly, they would probably, because for $7,500, you still can't get one of those box like areas. That probably covers a good portion of it, but like you still need a little bit more. I can imagine them, they would have rented out like one of those private boxes and you would have just like chilled there with them.
I need to look into it, but is there a Reddit thread of the guy who
actually went?
Like, because I remember just thinking.
Can you imagine if he just did it and didn't go to the game with them?
I know. Like, yeah, to go to Wrigley with those five dudes,
Yeah.
that would have been
Because
extraordinary.
the night doesn't end when the game's over. They would have probably been like, "Well, the
Walk
Cubby's
to the
right
Cubby
there."
Bear, walk to the
Yeah.
dugout. You know what I mean? One of the like walk Wrigleyville. Like, I mean, can you imagine too? Like, those guys especially too. Like, they're some of them are recognizable, like Lemmy Heffernan and stuff. They definitely got
Oh
recognized.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know, what a great, I just remember that with Super Troopers too. I'm like, what a great perk. Just now that like it's one of the dudes. You
I
know,
feel like it's also like, this was around the time where like legacy sequels were starting to happen. Like now they're more common today than anything. But it's like we just saw like Anchorman 2 about like 3 years before that. So it was like Hollywood was still testing the waters that like something like Super Troopers 2, which was a cult hit, had a lot of like, had a lot of notoriety going in. It also came out at a good time. It came out in April. There wasn't anything happening because Infinity War
yes.
was coming out at the end of April. So dads and like an older audience that grew up with that, they had to go see something because there wasn't anything else in April. Where like with this, it's just, man, a numbers game here. You're coming out at the beginning of August. Next week is End of Oak Street, which has some people interested in it because it's a dinosaur movie and everything. But
That's
like you're
gonna do
also,
well.
yeah, you're also battling up against Spider-Man, The Odyssey, and in
Yep.
terms of kids movies, Toy Story 5 and the Minions are still making money. So it's just like you chose like a bad time to come out, and tying it back to what we talked about earlier, because we don't have VHSs and DVDs or blockbusters, I should just say in general anymore, and physical media is like basically being killed by retailers. Unless if you can get a good streaming deal, I don't know how much of a profit you make off of streaming when you sell the rights off to like Netflix, Apple, whatever it may be. Man, I don't know how much this movie's gonna make because it's like I would hate to like see it die like this because it's like damn, like they're still creative, they still got some juice in them. I want to see Broken Lizard still like keep doing their thing.
You mentioned it to the Matt Damon video where he's on, what is it, Hot Ones, I think, and he talks about
Yeah,
like like P&M marketing and everything like that, and how like when he did his, because he was one of the first, Soderbergh was one of the first to recognize it. That's why they did Beyond the Candelabra, the
yeah,
Liberace movie, and went to HBO, where it was like 15 years ago. The studio, they wouldn't love it, but they would be content with only making a little more than half their money back because they know they had the rental dollars that
exactly.
they could rely on that you
Yeah.
can't now. We're about at the intermission.
Oh,
Ever when things were just so slapdash at the last minute. No, a 3.5 out of 4 stars. This was great.
Really great discussion, guys. We will move forward. Briefly touch on this. I do want to give this a little bit of time because we mentioned it about a month ago, and there's been a not totally an update, but a bigger, more deep dive on it. It's less a news story now, and it's becoming more of a feature. Really, thanks to this excellently made Variety piece by Adam B. Very. It has to deal with the Blair Witch Project actors, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I'm friends with Joshua Leonard on Facebook, so I saw when he posted this initially, this whole thing of calling out Blumhouse and calling out the studio behind the Blair Witch Project as well, which was Artisan Entertainment at the time, for not giving them their royalties and really not getting due compensation for a movie that was generationally effective, made hundreds of millions of dollars, and is still an ensuing cultural staple that now has a sequel and a soft reboot made since then. The title of the article is called "The Blair Witch Project Actors Call Out quote unquote reprehensible behavior after missing out on profits for decades." This is an exclusive to Variety by Adam B.
Mm-hmm.
Very. What basically Adam B. Very did was he got the three actors, Joshua Leonard, Michael C. Williams, and Ray Hance, formerly Heather Donahue, all together on Zoom to talk about exactly what they are demanding from Artisan, now Lionsgate, and Blumhouse, mainly Lionsgate, because Lionsgate really just came to an agreement with Blumhouse to try to reboot the movie again and make another movie. And it's coming up on the 25th anniversary of Blair Witch. This is the 25th anniversary year of that movie. So basically, the three actors wrote an open letter to Lionsgate on April 20th requesting quote unquote meaningful consultation on. Back and better than ever after a Zoom-sponsored intermission, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube, talking Super Troopers 3, now in theaters. This turned into a really fun external commentary on everything from, like, home video being dead as a way for other movies to make money, and, like, also the original Super Troopers and the Legacy of Broken Lizard too. So that's been a lot of fun. But going back to Super Troopers 3, there is mileage on this flimsy material. I agree with you. I think it's the weakest of the three. And I've seen some different opinions on this. The third act, it doesn't warrant great analysis, but like when the third act converges the wedding and the drug ring plot lines, it does so pretty well, pretty effectively. But then it does like it's one of the reasons I wasn't too crazy about Keanu. Like at a certain point, it's like it gets more violent than it does funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
at certain points, even
The
if
violence tries to play off like that's our comedy for this whole final act.
yeah, it gets a little too violent for its own good, I think, towards the end. But I wish that they would go. I do wish though that Broken Lizard would go left field again and do something different.
Yeah.
Like try something else. And I get to like, funding isn't what it used to be, but like they were doing direct to video shit. I could see them doing like a streaming comedy or something. They clearly prove that they don't need that much money relative to their predator relative to their peers, so to speak. But I will say though, I did smile a lot during this thing. Laughed quite a bit, smiled a lot. This kind of humor is really good natured. It's not explicitly raunchy either, and that's another thing I think Broken Lizard has going for it. Yeah, it's R rated, it's deservedly R rated and everything,
Yeah.
but like it's not over the top raunchy like
No.
some like when
Like
you
the
think of,
Hangover
like,
sequels did become.
yes, and the Hangover 3 was really Hangover 3 really became like a violent action comedy,
Yeah,
and that was
that movie
that
became
was
dark.
bad. That was bad. Like,
There's
the
that
Hangover,
scene where like they go into like a hotel and there's like flashing lights and like there's like crimes happening in like the hotel that you fully can't see but you know are happening and it's just like what the hell has the Hangover become? John Goodman's in a whole different movie.
yeah, like it really felt like the Hangover 3 doesn't get enough credit for what a truly terrible movie that is.
Yeah.
But I smiled enough with this thing. Like I said, there's a couple really great bits in this, and there's some really fun moments. I think the one guy who's going to get shafted a little bit here that I did think was pretty good. I do think Nat Faxon does a pretty good job. Like I thought he was
Yeah.
amusing as the replacement captain too. And also one of the funniest lines in the movie is not even in the movie. It's in the blooper reel during the credits is when Brian Cox fumbles his lines. And I don't know if you catch it because he says it so quickly and they laugh over it. I don't know if you catch it, but he fumbles his line and then he grabs the script and he goes, "I just read this 2 days ago. I didn't want to do the fucking thing." I thought that was great. I'm like, you got this Shakespearean actor in his 80s over here.
That's what I love about it, is how much Brian Cox is even committed to it.
But man, just the len they all laugh. Just the way he says, I just read this 2 days ago. I didn't want to do the fucking thing. I'm like, what a great line. I give it 2.5 out of 4, though. I was amused. I was amused enough. I like this troop. I wish they were afforded the opportunities to do more. Because I mean, if you really think about it too, I have to look really quick to see what Beer Fest made.
Not a lot.
They never had a hit.
No.
Like, and it's sad. Like, they never had like a true conventional box office hit. Chandra Sekhar's the only one. He's directed everything they've done. Chandra Sekhar's had a pretty successful directorial career. He did the Dukes of Hazzard movie. I'm talking financially successful. Most of these movies suck. No offense. But like the Dukes of Hazzard movie, Easter Sunday with Joe Coy, even though I don't think that did super well. Like, I feel bad for them because it's like for as long as they've been going, and yeah, Super Troopers is beloved, cult hit and everything like that. Same with Beer Fest and Club Dread has its audience. I just wish they'd have one $100 million hit, like a bona fide home run.
They're due for one. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, they're due for one.
They're long overdue for one. And now it just sucks though because it's like, we need a comedy to do, and this is a lot to ask, but we need a comedy to do Obsession numbers. We really do, or at least like half of Obsession numbers again. Because now every Markiplier and Curry Barker is gonna get a deal now to make their YouTube movie and everything. Like we really need a comedy hit, and we're not gonna get it. Like
it's the one thing we've been missing this box office year so far. Like, this has been a record-setting box office, and like you have even attested to us that there's just great variety happening this year
Yeah.
between all genres. However, comedy is still the one that's still kind of like, like, should we release this in theaters? Should we release this on streaming? Like, I'm trying to think like what other comedies came out this year. I almost said the movie with SZA and
That
what's
was
her name?
last year.
That was last year. Yeah.
I mean, you had it's more of a family movie, but I actually really enjoyed it. I would not have mind reviewing it on the show. Was The Breadwinner.
Oh
I actually
yeah.
really enjoyed that movie. It reminded me of like a throwback of like Are We There Yet? Like those kind of like summer comedies. I really enjoyed that. That's more of a family movie though.
Yeah.
You had Scary Movie, which was trash.
Oh yeah. I was like,
Uh,
I know there was one. I mean, I guess it did well, but we'll see how Scary Movie 7 does, because it might
That
be
was
like what Scary Movie 2 was to Scary Movie 1.
And it's like, what's funny is like the comedies that we've gotten this year that are good are like secondary comedies, like Mike and Nick and Alice. That's an
Yeah.
action movie. That's an action comedy. The Drama is a comedy. It's a black comedy.
Yeah.
Like,
Hoppers is an animated family film, but, like, even though it's a comedy, it's that.
and I don't want to count Tyler Perry's Joe's College Road Trip either. That didn't go to
Well,
theaters.
that's on streaming. You don't have to.
I don't want to count that one either. But yeah, like that's really sad though. Like I just feel, and I know we've talked about this on the show before in the past a couple of different times. Sean Fennessy, the film critic, brought it up a while ago on the Ringer, on the Big Pick podcast, the Big Picture podcast on the Ringer. Fennessy, who I like a lot, he brought up a good point. He said, Apatow was a writer and producer before, and he really still was. He directed a little bit, but he's like, from a young age, he was a writer, and he was the one who worked with like these established, like guys that went on to be established, like Seth Rogen from the Freaks and Geeks
Yeah.
era, and James Franco. So he was the one to kind of like Pied Piper this group of young, ascending male and female talent. I mean, he married Leslie Mann.
Yep.
Like, he had this like pool of talent that he like wrote movies for. Fantasy is like, I think the reason we don't have that many big comedies anymore is that everybody's taking their Rolodex of people and their platform and they're doing a podcast. He's like, they're not working within
Yeah.
the studio system anymore. You don't have like, because notice
Amy
that
Poehler
comedy
has a
started to peter off.
podcast. Tina Fey has a podcast. You're kind of
Right.
right.
Like that's what I'm not trying to steal credit here or steal a take, but Fennessy was like, though, he's like, notice how we stopped getting these big comedies
Yeah.
when when Apatow got the Netflix deal and did that crappy movie The Bubble. That's kind of when it really petered off, and
Yeah.
we don't have like Sacha Baron Cohen doesn't do a whole lot anymore. I know he's bringing back Ali G, but Sacha Baron Cohen doesn't do much anymore, and he had The Dictator and Bruno, and even the Brothers Grimsby. Like, we don't have anybody like that right now that's
Yeah.
like shepherding
I mean, I
a
guess
cohort of talent.
I guess what's his name? We reviewed it last year. It did pretty well at the box office for the most part.
That narrows it down.
Akiva Schaffer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
That's a good point.
he's kind of like, the next one I could really say, and then shit, that might be it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I loved Good Fortune, but Good Fortune was Aziz Ansari, and it's like he's not really doing a ton of comedies, but like that was like a good movie, but like again, it didn't do well at the box office compared to the Naked Gun reboot.
Yeah, I won't forgive. It's been a great year for movies. I try not to bitch or about like, movies making money, good movies making money. Like,
Yeah.
I try not to bitch, but you know what? Like, part of it, a black mark on the masses this year was Letting Over Your Dead Body bomb. Like, that's a black mark on the masses. The Yorma Taccone movie with Jason Segel and Samara Weaving. That was a
Oh,
remake.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
That's, I swear to God, that'll be right as of now. That'll be on my top 10. I can't forgive the masses for letting that damn thing bomb because that movie was great. That was That is probably the funniest movie of the year.
I don't know if we could consider this an animated film, but Coyote versus Acme. A lot's riding on that. Like, it's just like that could be a comedy. So we'll see.
It's got the Roger Rabbit Looney Tunes back in action spirit of it. Coyote versus Acme, yeah. Like, I mean, I want that movie to make millions to smite Zaslav and Warner.
That
I don't
too,
know if
yeah.
it will. I want it to make millions for that reason.
Dude, I mean, the fact that they were bold enough to be like, yeah, let the reviews drop like 3 weeks before our release, like generate
Yes.
as much buzz as possible. And like honestly, there's been more people that I just did not expect to talk about the movie bring it up to me. There's coworkers of mine like, "Oh, did you see the Looney Tunes have a new movie coming out? They haven't been in theaters. I haven't seen a Looney Tunes movie in forever." And I want to tell them like, "You know, it was one like last year, right?" And they're like, "There was?" I'm like, "Shit, like nobody really knew about that movie." But it's like the fact that you know a Looney Tunes movie's coming out might be a good sign of what's to come, maybe for the box office of this movie. We'll wait and see. I'm hoping for the best. I really am.
Smart and ballsy for him though. But it's like now I've seen a little bit of it trickle in. The reviews have been really positive for Coyote versus Acme. Smart and ballsy for him because now they can use it to say if they wanted to go there, if Ketchup wanted to go there for the marketing, they could say the movie they didn't want you to see is one of the best reviewed movies of the year.
Exactly that.
They
Yeah.
can frame it like that, and that's really smart. And they knew, and Ketchup, who's worked a lot with the Looney Tunes recently on The Day the Earth Blew Up and everything, Ketchup can be like the movie they were gonna destroy is getting critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
And that's great now marketing. Let's see how it works because regardless of how great the reviews are, the kids are still going back to school.
Yeah.
Like
they even did like a whole thing of like end your summer with laughs. Like they were going with like that whole approach. Like, we're coming at the end of summer. This is the last movie of the summer basically before we get into like the fall box office. And end it with a comedy, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, I'll wrap up because we got sidetracked like hell.
My fault.
Yeah, for me, it's also 2.5 out of 4 stars. I very much had a good time with it. From time to time, there are some lows for me, like I was saying earlier, but for the most part, it's still just good to know Broken Lizard really hasn't lost their touch. And like for the longest time, it felt like we probably won't get like a Super Troopers 3. Then it's like it's announced and I'm like, get the hell out of here, no way. So it's just like it's good to know that like the guys still have something up their sleeve, especially our hometown hero. And I'm hoping for 4. I hope this isn't another hey, let's bring in Leslie Nielsen at the end of Beer Fest to tease Pot Fest, and then nothing ever came of it. Because I do like the idea that they're teasing up with 4 right now, and I really want to see that through.
Ballsy of them too for guys that have yet to have a true box office hit to consistently tease sequels.
Yeah, tease the sequels. I'm just like, dude, you gotta stop doing this.
Like, well, and I mean, going back too, it was funny. Like here, real quick, because this will now be the 3rd or 4th reference on the show. Kevin Smith. If you watch, and only a nerd like me has watched it enough to notice this, if you wait at the end credits of Clerks. At the very ass end, it says Jay and Silent Bob will return in Dogma. That was 3 movies later.
What the hell? That's crazy.
Yeah, like he had.
Dude, nobody knew what the hell Dogma was gonna be.
and it wasn't like it was his next movie.
No.
When he got
what was it, Chasing Amy?
Mallrats.
Mallrats, okay.
And then it was Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
It's a great story because the studio cashed out and they were like, do another movie like Clerks. And Kevin Smith's like, I'll do Mallrats bombs. And then the story of Chasing Amy was they were going to give him another, I think, $5 million, but the studio was going to pick the cast and he already written it. And he said, give me $250,000 and let me shoot with my people.
Yeah.
And that's how he got Ben Affleck, Jason Lee, and Joey Lauren Adams.
Yeah.
In Chasing Amy, and then Chasing Amy's success, critical success too, is what finally got him to do Dogma.
God,
which is
I should have saw it when it came back for its anniversary.
It's so good. It is probably Kevin Smith's best movie, top to bottom.
I haven't seen it in so long, but I remember liking it when I watched it in high school, and I was like, dude. Like everybody tells me it's probably his best film next to Clerks. Like it
probably is.
Yeah.
It's it's in my top 5. Clerks is still my favorite. Dogma though is a really, really well made movie.
Yeah.
And all the talent in that, like, and even Kevin Smith, like, even going on the record and recent, like, talking about how nervous he was to work with George Carlin, and then talking about like he was like, it was like I cast Alanis Morissette because I had a crush on her since I was like 12.
Yeah,
like just so many great little bits on that, from that movie. Super Troopers 3 now in theaters. Next week we'll tackle the end of Oak Street, which comes out tomorrow evening as well. So looking forward to that. Shocker, these guys didn't want to review the fucking Paw Patrol movie. Shocker.
Hey, maybe if we were still on the radio when we did Blade Runner and My Little Pony.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing Paw Patrol. I'm seeing it.
You're gonna have a Dino weekend?
I've kept up, yeah, really. I've kept up with the Paw Patrol movie franchise. The first one I still think is a great movie. Second one, the Mighty movie didn't live up to its name, but they're bringing dinos into
The
this one.
Mighty
So,
movie.
yeah, Paw Patrol the Mighty movie.
Dude, you
Yeah,
should get some dino nuggies and like sneak
oh,
'em in.
serious, that's sneaking a yoo-hoo, or something. Yeah, I've seen it 4:30 tomorrow. I can't wait. That's our show tonight, though. Super Troopers 3 now in theaters. Dominic will be back next week. We're tackling the end of Oak Street. Joe, thank you again for hosting. Always a pleasure, my friend. For the unseen but still love, Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso, and yours truly. This has been Sleepless with Steve.